Good morning, IT is Sunday, April 27th, 2025. This week will wrap up the first 100 days of President Trump's second term in office over the last several months. The president and his team led an overhauling of the federal workforce, including tens of thousands of layoffs, locked down the U.S.-Mexico border, set up a trade work, and begin the rollback of many programs and policies. Baked into how the government has run for decades, our question this morning is President Trump's to IRSG 200 to a YS what you expected? Our phone lines are for Republicans 2027 for 88001, for Democrats 2027 for 88000, and for Independents 2027 for 88002. If you would like to text US, that number is 2027 for 88003. Please be sure to include your name and where you are writing in from. You can also contact us on social media at facebook.com/cspan and on X at cspanwj. President Trump will be marking the first 100 days of office for his second term in Michigan. Here is a story in the Associated Press. Trump will hold a rally in Michigan to mark his first 100 days in office, saying that it will be his first trip to Michigan since returning to the White House earlier this year. Trump will visit Macomb County on Tuesday, the White House press secretary said. The region is just north of Detroit, known as an automotive hub. President Trump is excited to return to the great state of Michigan next Tuesday, where he will rally in Macomb County. To celebrate his first 100 days, Karoline Leavitt said on Wednesday on social media, now looking at some polling related to how the American people feel about Trump's first 100 days in office. There is an AP poll that said 100 days in, and the public feels Trump's presidency is proceeding mostly as expected. Most partisans agree they are getting what they expected from Trump's second term, but 84% of Democrats think Trump is doing a poor or terrible job as president so far, and 68% of Republicans think he is doing a good or great job. Looking at some additional polling here, ABC News has a story saying Trump has the lowest 100-day approval rating in 80 years. Majorities of voters is of many of Trump's policies, a poll found. This is an ABC News, Washington Post, Ipsos poll. 39% of respondents in this ABC News, Washington Post, Ipsos poll say they approve of how Trump is handling his job as president, down 6 percentage points from February, while 55% said they disapprove. The previous low in approval for a president are near 100 days in office in polls dating to 1945, was Trump's 42% in 2017. Now let's look back at how President Trump started his term in his inaugural address nearly 100 days ago, promising a golden age in America. Video clip.
Our sovereignty will be reclaimed. Our safety will be restored. The scales of justice will be rebalanced. The vicious, violent, and unfair weaponization of the Justice Department and our government will end. And our top priority will be to create a nation that is proud, prosperous, and free. America will soon be greater, stronger, and far more exceptional than ever before. I return to the presidency confident and optimistic that we are at the start of a thrilling new era of national success. A tide of change is sweeping the country, sunlight is pouring over the entire world, and America has the chance to seize this opportunity like never before.
One of the key markers of the presidency thus far has been the astonishing number of executive orders that the president has signed thus far. There's a story in the Wall Street Journal. Trump signed 26 executive orders at the start of his second term, the first batch of 137 implemented as of Thursday. That is more than 3 times as many as former President Joe Biden and over 100 more than the first 3 months of his previous term. The orders have varied from implementing global tariffs to banning paper straws in federal buildings. More than 80 lawsuits have been filed that challenge his executive orders on immigration, gender and diversity, and climate change. And here's a look of a chart marking the difference in Donald Trump's executive orders in this term compared to previous administrations, showing this 137 executive orders as of April 24th, compared to much lower numbers here for Joe Biden, Trump in 2017, Barack Obama, and George Bush in their first 100 days. Now, getting into some of those executive actions, executive orders, as well as other executive actions, there have been a total of 207, according to CNN, breaking down to about 38 on the economy, 52 related to the federal government specifically, including DEI, 38 again on the economy, 15 on climate and energy, 12 on immigration, 11 on national security, 11 on education, 7 on foreign policy, 6 on health, and 55 on other issues. Now again, our question this morning: are President Trump's first 100 days what you expected? Let's start with Kyle in Truth or Consequences, New Mexico, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Kyle.
Thank you so much. Yes, and as I read it, it was about the question of whether or not in the first 100 days who I voted for President Trump is doing what I expected him to do. And largely he is. Now where he's not, and this is a big one, I think this might be the biggest one, is Israel. Is Trump America first or Israel first? And we look at politicians like Thomas Massie, who personify leaving AIPAC out of the question, being America first.
Kyle, what would you like to see the president do differently when it comes to Israel?
Well, as a millennial combat veteran, we've been over there, and it's a lot of fun, but I wouldn't do it again. And there's no point in it. Boy, oh boy, that's a really tough question. There's a lot of books to read about it, a really lot of experts about it. I'm not one of them. Oh boy, Hannah Arendt. Oh my goodness, my gracious, I'm from New England. My gosh, what accent do you want me to give you? And that's not but come on now.
Okay.
That's a tough question. That's a really tough question.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Is there anything else about the president's first 100 days that stands out to you, Kyle?
Well, that's the biggest. I'm going to be honest with you. That is what I believe to be the biggest theme, is that break, that friction.
Okay.
America first, Israel first. Which is it?
All right, let's hear from Tyrone in New York on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Tyrone.
Good morning. Thanks for taking my call. Yes, he's pretty much doing what I expect him to do. When he left this country, when he left the White House the last time, millions of Americans was dying. Our job, unemployment was going up. He refused to turn over power like he's doing now. You have a blatant disregard for our Constitution and the laws of our country. And this is pretty much what I expected of him. I'm not surprised that he's signing executive orders, fighting judges, fighting against our country as a whole. He had our Capitol attacked. We would not have had our Capitol attacked if he wasn't president. So he's doing pretty much what I thought he would do. And now he's attacking our health industry, Measles is coming back. He make us a pariah on the international stage. He got our allies looking at our side eye. He's pretty much doing what I thought he would do because this man is who he is. It is not. I'm not surprised that he's doing this. The shame that I have is that 160 million people is responsible for this man being president. U.S. citizens. And I say 160 million because you had 80 to 90 million people that did not vote, and you got 77 million that voted for him. So I just put them all in the same bucket. If the people don't participate in the path that this country take, we deserve to lose it because we don't stand up for what we need and what we have. We take this thing for granted, and we will lose it. We will lose this country because we take a lot for granted.
Al is in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Al.
Yeah, so he's doing exactly what he said he would do. I want to remind people this president was adjudicated with all the cases sent against him in the left-wing media complex on Election Day. The big story the last 100 days is a non-consecutive term. Imagine if this was a Democrat, how much we would be talking about this as historic. What is the message in that, a non-consecutive term for this president? I watched the Correspondents' Dinner last night. They were all patting themselves on the back last night, making fun of the fact that President Trump wasn't there. Why don't you find out why he wasn't there? Because you have a press that's been hostile. This is the honeymoon period, folks. Let's see what the press does 3.5 years. Did we forget about Russiagate? Nobody's buying Hunter's paintings any longer. The press, the left-wing media, you still don't get it. Good luck.
All right, next up is Melvin in Richmond, Virginia, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Melvin.
Good morning, Kimberly. Thank you for taking my call. Kimberly, may you live long and prosper.
Thank you.
Now, to the question of the day. He is doing exactly what I had expected also as a Democrat. I know that you have an economic background, so you're familiar with what the Forbes 400 is, correct? Mm-hmm. Well, Trump is listed as number 319 on the Forbes 400, and his main goal was to be number one. So he's using this presidency in any way that he can to move his status up to be number one. When he got elected by taking the number one guy on the list to give him $250 million to get himself elected. And everything that he does that has an economic bent in it is there to further help him move up the line. These little social issues like DEI and immigration and abortion, those things he doesn't really care about. He cares only about money and what kind of money he can get put in his pockets. So when you hear him talk about the things that he loves, he loves tariffs because he knows that if he can get those tariffs, he can get money into the coffers, and then, of course, give his rich friends tax breaks, and in return, they will give him kickbacks, of course, and, of course, the American corporations, they know that, and so they cozy up to him, Amazon and all of these tech companies, Facebook, all of the so-called big cap stocks, they all love him because they know that he's going to make them money, and in turn, they're going to give him money through his campaign facility and or through buying what his cryptocurrencies, his Trump meme coins. So
Melvin, you mentioned several issues there, including the tariffs. I want to go back to President Trump speaking in the Rose Garden earlier this month, announcing those new global tariffs in an event that the administration referred to as Liberation Day.
My fellow Americans, this is Liberation Day, waiting for a long time. April 2nd, 2025 will forever be remembered as the day American industry was reborn, the day America's destiny was reclaimed, and the day that we began to make America wealthy again. We're going to make it wealthy, good and wealthy. For decades, our country has been looted, pillaged, raped, and plundered by nations near and far, both friend and foe alike. American steel workers, auto workers, farmers, and skilled craftsmen, we have a lot of them here with us today. They really suffered gravely. They watched in anguish as foreign leaders have stolen our jobs, foreign cheaters have ransacked our factories, and foreign scavengers have torn apart our once beautiful American dream. We had an American dream that you don't hear so much about. You did 4 years ago, and you are now, but you don't too often, and for many years and decades even, you didn't hear too much about. Our country and its taxpayers have been ripped off for more than 50 years, but it is not going to happen anymore. It's not going to happen. In a few moments, I will sign a historic executive order instituting reciprocal tariffs on countries throughout the world. Reciprocal, that means they do it to us and we do it to them. Very simple, can't get any simpler than that. This is one of the most important days, in my opinion, in American history. It's our declaration of economic independence. For years, hardworking American citizens were forced to sit on the sidelines as other nations got rich and powerful, much of it at our expense. But now it's our turn to prosper, and in so doing, use trillions and trillions of dollars to reduce our taxes and pay down our national debt, and it'll all happen very quickly. With today's action, we are finally going to be able to make America great again, greater than ever before.
Of course, the markets had quite a reaction to that announcement and the variety of changes we've seen to tariff policy since that announcement. This relates to a comment we received on Facebook from Mike Bullerman, who said to the question of whether President Trump's first 100 days were what he expected, "No, I didn't expect him to single-handedly tank the markets. I should have known better." Looking back at that AP NORC poll, it breaks it down across several policy areas. And when it comes to the economy, President Trump has an overall 37% approval rating on the economy, but just 12% of Democrats approving, 27% of independents, but 72% of Republicans approving his performance on the economy. And when it comes to trade negotiations with other countries, 37% overall approval rating again, 13% Democrats, 29% independents, 68% Republicans. A few more comments we received on social media and text. Ricky James said, yes, he's doing what he promised, getting rid of illegals, securing the border, and lowering gas prices and giving press conferences, unlike Biden. Gary Gonzalez says, Doge has surprised me with so much more waste and fraud than I thought was imaginable. We are broke financially and it has to stop now. Lawrence Rose says he's done what he said he would do, which is more than most presidents do in their first 100 days. He accomplished a lot, and people who voted for him and will give him that latitude to achieve as much as he can in these 4 years, and we just got to remember a whole lot better than the alternative. All right, now let's get back to your calls. Alvy is in Colorado on our line for Independence. Good morning, Alvy.
Good morning, all my relations, and to you as well. The economy and what I thought that he would do to it, he's doing exactly what I thought in general, not specific. I took my 401ks out. I cleaned out, so I saved money. It cost me a lot of money, but I saved money. And you know, because of what's happened with the tariffs.
Just for clarification, did you pull out of your 401k before your retirement age and have to pay a penalty for that?
Well, I did have to pay a penalty, and yes, I did, because I still have a couple more years before I can retire. But it just so happened that I'm an over-the-road truck driver. I'm retired from doing plumbing and retired from doing electrical in Colorado, in the elite area of Colorado, Aspen, Glenwood, Carbondale, Vale area. My point is that he is doing exactly what they have written that they would do. And most people are not even acclimated as I talk to them and interact with them because, as I said, I'm an over-the-road truck driver now, and I drive out to the Oakland port. Now, the tariffs out there, from what I heard last week, are affecting the cargo that is coming in. I can't see that because I am a cargo carrier out there. I go out to the Midwest and pick up pork, chicken, and beef and take it to the port that goes overseas. And then I bring back other commodities like wine and, whatever. But my point is that he has done exactly what he said that he was going to do with the tariffs. And I knew this, that it was going to destroy everything because they could stop buying from us, but they're not going to. We're the ones that are buying from them more than they're buying from us across the table, period. Plain and simple. He hasn't blinked. America is the one that's blinking right now, trying to figure out what they're going to do. Because our economy is not in devastation right now. However, it has implemented that it could be really bad.
Okay. Tom is in Smithfield, North Carolina, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Tom.
Hi, yes. Good morning, Kimberly. I think we have to recognize what the president's job description is, and there's really no written job description for that. He gets elected by the people, and then the people put their faith in him in making proper business decisions. And I think he's delivered on that. His board meetings or his cabinet meetings are very similar to his board meetings that he had during The Apprentice. And so that visibility discloses what the accountability is in our government. And there's no question there's a lot of waste in our government, a lot of tax dollars going to different places that once the Treasury releases the money, we don't really have an accountability of where it goes, if it's going to the proper locations where it should be going. But I think he's doing the best job he can do. He's got some good people. Again, that job description, I don't think anybody could write that job description because as a president of the United States and as a government official, everybody deals with day-to-day problems, day-to-day negotiations with foreign leaders. And, we just try to get along as best we can and do the best we can with our job. And I think he's doing pretty good compared to the previous administration. That's all I have. Right.
All right. Emma is in North Carolina on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Emma.
Good morning. Well, my thing is, I don't like what he's doing. And the other callers, they don't like what he's doing. Everybody is going to suffer. They don't like what he's doing. I don't like it. You don't like it. Nobody around the world like what he's doing.
Well, some of our callers already have said they do like what the president's doing so far.
There. But here in North Carolina, don't nobody like what he's doing. Who gonna take people's jobs? This man has took millions and millions of jobs, Bo. Come on now. This is not good. But at the end of the day, the same ones got on here, days after days now, they gonna see it. They gonna see it. They gonna see it.
Emma, are there particular policies that Trump has enacted thus far that you think are particularly troublesome?
Excuse me?
Are there particular things that Trump has done so far that worry you or bother you the most?
Yes. Taking those children and those women I don't care about the men.
You're talking about the deportations?
And the women. Excuse me?
Are you talking about the deportations?
Yes, that's not good. At the end of the day, when all this dam break down and close that dam, stop that water, they gonna see. We gonna see now.
All right.
We gonna see.
Doug is in Ohio on our line for independence. Good morning, Doug.
Hi, I got to say one thing. It's been the longest 100 days of my life, it seems like. The economy's going crazy. I mean, the tariffs are rotten. He's deporting people. He's scaring hard-working Americans, and even the ones that are here legally and illegally. I mean, he's scaring the heck out of people, and it's crazy. It's like he's trying to take away he's trying to take away our rights, like freedom of speech, freedom of action, all that. But mainly, let the American people. He took a great economy that Joe Biden had, and he's destroyed it, and now he's trying to blame Biden. Biden was a great president, and Trump is a terrible president. Obama was a great president, and Trump is a terrible president. I think the American people are dumb for voting him back in, and I'm glad I didn't vote for the man. But he's going to destroy this country if we don't stop him now. Thank you very much.
Once again, our question this morning, are President Trump's first 100 days what you expected? Our phone line for Republicans, 202-748-8001. For Democrats, 202-748-8000. And for Independents, 202-748-8002. Several folks have mentioned so far the performance of the stock market since President Trump came into office for his second term. The Wall Street Journal has actually made a chart comparing the performance of the S&P 500 change from Inauguration Day through April for several past administrations, looking here at the difference between Bush 2001, Bush 2005, Obama 2009, Obama 2013, Trump 2017, Biden 2021, and Trump 2025. So with Trump waging a trade war and clashing with his Federal Reserve chair, stock indexes have declined since the president took office. Stocks rallied after Trump appeared to soften on China tariffs and the Federal Reserve, but overall the S&P 500 index is down 8.5% since Inauguration Day. During the first 100 days of George W. Bush and Barack Obama's administrations, the stock market declined sharply, driven by the bursting of the dot-com bubble in 2001 and the 2007-2009 recession. The index rebounded in 2009 to finish Obama's first 100 days up 8%. All right, back to your calls. Robbie is in Coronado, California, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Robbie.
Good morning. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
And you said the question was...
Are President Trump's first 100 days what you expected?
Yeah, it is. It is. He's out for a retribution. We're not just legislating. This man is just out to tear down America. He'll tell you that America's being torn down, but he's doing what he want to do. They're not legislating. We're no longer with three branches of government. It's a shame. It's a shame that America have to stand on a child's a child's dream. This is his dream. He wanted to be the richest and the powerful man in the world, and he got it. This is what he wanted. He got people to back him up. Republicans, this is all on their hands. This is their nominee. This is what they wanted. And now they can't even. And now they back. They're not doing anything. They're not legislating. This is not America anymore. This is a mob. It's pretty sad, For so many years, America went with three branches of government. Now we only got one man doing all this. Come on, y'all. We can do better than this. It's sad. I'm sorry. It's hard to say.
Okay. Bradley is in West Virginia on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Bradley.
Good morning. Good morning. You look like some pretty weather back behind you there. I support Trump 100%. He has done more in the 100 days than Biden done in his whole term. For years I've been debating on what to do. September the 10th, I turned 75, and I was a diehard Democrat. The Democrat Party is completely insane. They're in the dugout with the gates shut. We need to bring America back. We need to bring our jobs back. The Democrat Party, if they would just help a little instead of fighting, they'd make America great. You cannot buy nothing hardly made in America. I just bought 2 camping chairs, one for my wife for her birthday, and I bought another one. And when I read up on them, both of them was made in China. I called the people and told them if I knew they'd been made there, I wouldn't have bought them. But I had to drive, probably spent $20 in gas to go take them back. I was complaining to the lady, which would be the receptionist for the company. She told me that they was moving to Vietnam from China. I told her, I said, you go tell your boss anything with his name on it when he goes to China, where I am a Vietnam veteran. We lost 40-some thousand GIs over there. They're taking their jobs. Wake up, Democrats. And I told her, I said, I'll never buy another thing the day you move to Vietnam. America needs to straighten up. The Democrats needs to get out of the dugout and start supporting, doing something for America. That's what Trump's doing. That's why he's doing so good. And listen, wake up. Wake up. That's the main thing. It's pitiful. These judges is ruling against him. Put their butts in jail.
Okay. TJ is in Chicago on our line for Independence. Good morning, TJ.
Yeah, it's a doggone shame. We got 100 years out of 100 days of disgrace, and everybody is saying a lot of things about Trump. But let me tell you something about me. I'm 70 years old. I'm retired from the VA, and I have realized a long time ago, like from 1971, that Donald Trump wasn't nothing but a liar, a thief, and a con man. He talks loud, and he makes people believe that what he's saying is true because he won't give you a chance to check it out, because by the time you check that lie, he already into another one. I understand how the people in this country feel. I worked with veterans for the last 22 years before I retired, and I talked with a lot of them. And a lot of them, when Trump was running the first time, they was for that. You know, but they when I spoke with him and told him about things that he did, this man used to get on the phone and call the newspapers and call journalists and tell them lies, pretending like he was somebody else, disguising his voice. And you can look this stuff up. It's the truth. You know, disguising his voice and saying, oh, so-and-so and so-and-so is in love with Donald Trump and blah, blah, blah. And then one of the journalists said, wait a minute, you sound like Trump. You know, and he went from that to, what's that paper, the
TJ,
National
you mentioned that you used to work for the VA. What are your thoughts on the cuts to the VA staff as well as throughout the federal government that DOJ has been doing since Trump came into office?
Man, listen, I'm sorry. And good morning to you. I'm sorry. I'm just so hyper about this. My wife still works there. She's been working there over 40 years. Soon she'll be retired, maybe in the next few years. But it's like the things that, okay, she came home one day. She was upset a little bit about it. You know, she got that got that email talking about, you know, fill out something that you did, 5 things you did yesterday or whatever it was. And, you know, I still talk to a lot of the people there. So they were explaining to me how some of them wasn't going to do it and some of them was going to do it. My wife is a supervisor, so she just did it, you know. And when she came home and told me she did it, she thought I was going to say something bad about it. I said, nah, you know, you do what you feel, because either way it go, this stuff ain't real. All he doing is playing a game, trying to keep people from looking at the picture. You know, all these people talking about.
I do want to follow up on this point about DOJ, because going back to that Wall Street Journal article looking at federal employees, the Trump administration's Department of Government Efficiency, led by Elon Musk, has touted massive cuts in federal spending, largely by reducing the federal workforce. Around 75,000 government employees took a voluntary buyout in the first few months of Trump's term. Tens of thousands more federal workers have been laid off, though many have been at least temporarily reinstated by court orders. On a Tesla earnings call this month, Musk said he would be devoting significantly less time to Doge beginning in May. This chart here showing the difference in the staffing levels of the federal workforce across multiple administrations, with a pretty obvious sharp decline here in the Trump administration compared to previous administrations. President Trump back in February held his first cabinet meeting of his second term, and Elon Musk was in attendance, and the president talked about his goals for Doge.
One of the most important initiatives is Doge, and we have cut billions and billions and billions of dollars. We're looking to get it maybe to $1 trillion. If we can do that, we're going to start getting to be at a point where we can think in terms of balancing budgets, believe it or not, something you haven't heard in many, many years, decades actually. And it's a big, whether it's this year or next year, I think we'll be very close to balancing budgets. And the Doge is very important. And Elon is here to give you a summary of what's happening, some of the things they found, some of the horrible things they found, some of the theft and fraud, and we call it waste and abuse, but a lot of fraud, and probably some fraud that we're not going to be able to prove is fraud. But when you hear the names and the places where this money's going, it's a disgrace. But we've requested that a lot of people, we want to make sure that the people are working. So letters were sent out, and I think everyone at this table is very much behind it. And if they aren't, I'd want them to speak up, but they're very much behind it. Letters were sent out to people just to find out if the people exist. Do they work? Who do they work for? Where are they? Where have they been working? Have they been working for other companies or other entities at all, or being paid by the government? So they have two jobs, but they're supposed to have one. And the letter asks some simple questions like, what have you done lately? And if they can answer that, because I can tell you everything I've done for the last long period of time, a lot more than a week. And in many cases, we haven't gotten responses. Usually that means that maybe that person doesn't exist, or that person doesn't want to say they're working for another company while being paid by the United States government. So there's a lot of interesting things. It's very unique, but we have a very unique situation because we have a lot of people that were scamming our country. We have a lot of dishonest people. We have a lot of people that took advantage of a lot of different situations, and we're not going to let that happen.
Back to your calls on whether Trump's first 100 days are what you expected. Let's hear from Roseanne in San Diego on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Roseanne.
Hi, thank you for taking my call. I think he's doing much, much worse than I expected. I expected the cruelty and the lack of human compassion. That was a given. I did not expect him to tank the economy, destroy so many people's livelihoods, and I didn't expect him to let Elon Musk, who was never elected, to take a chainsaw to our lives. I didn't expect that at all. I think Doge is a sham, and we're going to pay the price. It may take a couple of years, it may take a couple of months, it may take the next presidency, but we are going to pay the price for what this man is doing to us today. That's all.
All right. John is in Milan, New Hampshire, on our line for Republicans. Good morning, John.
Hi, how you doing?
Fine, thank you.
I think that Donald Trump is the greatest president in our lifetime. What he is doing to this country right now is straightening out the mess we've been in for the last 40 years. I think a lot of people out there hate Donald Trump so bad, and they have Trump derangement syndrome. I do believe that that is a real thing. This country is going to be great. It's going to take time because this country is in a mess right now. But if people have patience, they will see that this country will get straightened out, and this will be the greatest country in the world again.
So, John, which of the president's policies that he's enacted thus far in his second term are you most in favor of?
I am most in favor of the policies with the border What he's doing with this economy, I think, is a great. Everything that he's doing right now is for the future. This is not going to happen overnight. But everything that he's doing right now is very smart and calculated. People don't think he has a plan. I know he has a plan. What he's doing right now is setting us up for the next 40, 50 years. By bringing the manufacturing back to this country, we are going to be the greatest country in the world. A country that doesn't make their own stuff is going to be a country that's going to fall quickly. And that's where we're at right now. We're at the breaking point.
Okay. Pew Research asked in their own survey a similar question: what do Americans like most and least about the Trump administration's actions so far? And the top issue here, immigration actions, 20% like that the most, and this was an open-ended question. How Trump governs, 11%. Reducing government, DOGE, 9%. Tariffs and trade, 6%, other economic actions, 3%, foreign policy, 2%, and then puts America or the American people first, 4%. And and our previous caller, was mentioning several of these things in terms of what people like least. 11% like the immigration actions least, 22% like the way he governs least, and on tariffs and trade in particular, 15% put that at the top of their list in terms of things they like the least about the Trump administration's actions so far. Let's hear now from Norma in Tustin, Mississippi, on our line for Independence. Good morning, Norma.
I have never, ever in my lifetime been so scared. My husband and I are on Social Security, and every month we are overdrawn at the bank because we can't make ends meet on Social Security. I'm scared. I'm absolutely scared. I'm scared what I hear about the veterans. And when they went in with the DOGE and what they've done to the federal workers, there's a lot of other ways that they could have handled that. Gore, when he was vice president with Bill Clinton, they did the same thing. They went in to the federal government and examined all of the jobs to clean out, to do what Trump thinks they're doing now. And they cleaned up the government just fine. The people that didn't need to be there were gone. There's just so many other ways that could have been handled, and to have Musk in there, that was, oh my Lord, have mercy. And then they think he's so great about the economy. Well, look at his record for his businesses and his bankruptcy that he's had over the years. I have never been so scared in all my life. He's going to bankrupt the company or the country. In the first administration, in 4 years, he spent more money in 4 years than any other president that's ever been elected. And for me, I watch the stock market. I do not own stock, but that's what I watch to give an idea of what's going on. And watching the stock market go down like it has. Mm-hmm. And the other thing, if somebody takes him and criticizes him or disagrees with him, then in his rallies he's calling these people names. What kind of person does that?
Norma, I want to follow up. Go ahead. You said his cabinet?
His cabinet is, he's got incompetent people in his cabinet. And, of course, right now in the news it's the Department of Defense. And that.
So, Norma, I do want to follow up on the point that you made about the Department of Government efficiency, because there's a story in the New York Times this morning saying that the DOGE savings could be offset by firing costs. President Trump and Elon Musk promised taxpayers big savings, maybe even a Doge dividend check in their mailboxes when the Department of Government Efficiency was let loose on the federal government. Now, as he prepares to step back from his presidential assignment to cut bureaucratic fat, Mr. Musk has said, without providing details, that Doge is likely to save taxpayers only $150 billion. That's about 15% of the $1 trillion he pledged to save, less than 8% of the $2 trillion in savings he had originally promised, and a fraction of the nearly $7 trillion the federal government spent in the 2024 fiscal year. The errors and obfuscations underlying Doge's claims of savings are well documented. Less known are the costs Mr. Musk incurred by taking what Mr. Trump called a hatchet to government, and the resulting firings, agency lockouts, and building seizures that mostly wound up in court. The Partnership for Public Service, a nonprofit organization that studies the federal workforce, has used budget figures to produce a rough estimate that firings, rehirings, and lost productivity and paid leave of thousands. I'm going to have to get to the next page. Will cost upwards of $135 billion this fiscal year. And so let's get back to your calls. Robert is in Worcester, Massachusetts, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Robert.
Good morning. Ignorance comes from the lack of education. Donald Trump cut the education department. Now, most people that are ignorant voted for Donald Trump, and they're not educated. And first of all, the Ku Klux Klan is rose again in the last 100 days. Atlanta, Georgia will never rise again. What Donald Trump did in the first 100 days, he let Nazism, white supremacy, he allowed the Proud Boys, he allowed the Oath Keepers, and Donald Trump said there's good people on both sides. Now, that's an ignorant man. Okay, now, the Supreme Court, too, within 100 days, I have a little teeny faith in them because they're fighting back against this man. Now, in Charlottesville, David Duke was at Charlottesville when Donald Trump said there was both people on both sides. And David Duke was a Ku Klux Klan member. He's the first man to take that white robe off himself and put on a black robe. That's the Supreme Court. Now,
so,
another thing Donald
Robert,
Trump did
are there specific things that Trump has done in his first 100 days in terms of actual policies that you take particular issue with?
My policy is that when he talked about going into Canada, he's talking about going into Greenland. He's letting Putin go into Ukraine so he can go into Poland. Donald Trump, he's locking people up without duty. Matter of fact, okay, now, let me tell you one thing. He let out 1,500 people that had an insurrection talking about killing Nancy Pelosi and hanging Mike Pence. They went and they went and handed Paul Pelosi. This is getting very dangerous. When you have senators and congressmen have to carry pistols and guns and security, and you're going into places like let me put it this way.
Okay, let's go to Ray in Tennessee on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Ray.
Good morning. Yes, I've listened to the last few people that expressed their opinions. And it just seems like to me that there's a whole lot of paranoid people in this country. And they're not listening, and they're not paying attention to both sides. Now, since Donald Trump's been in office, him and his whole cabinet and people that work for him have worked their tail off to try to straighten this country out and get us back to a normal country. And that lady that said she's so afraid, what are you afraid of? The last 4 years were a mess. We did not even have a president. We had people behind the scenes running this country. Now we got a leader, and he's working hard. And what the rest of us need to do is get on our job, do our job, and quit listening and quit to the mainstream media that is throwing this stuff out there trying to block everything that's going to be done, that needs to be done in this country. If you can't see that, then you're blind. You're listening to the wrong side, and you're not investigating and finding out the exact truth of what's going on. And if we don't do this, we're going to lose this country. And all you people that are paranoid, you need to get a hold of yourself and find out the truth about what's going on. He is doing a great job, and he is a good president. He is going to go down in history as one of the greatest.
A previous caller did make a comment that people who voted for Trump were not educated, and that's not accurate. This wanted to bring up some statistics about that. This is from the Washington Post, looking at exit polls from the 2024 election, how people with different levels of education voted, and even though people with college degrees did vote, the majority of them voted for Kamala Harris, 42% of Americans with college degrees did indeed vote for President Trump. Let's hear from Steve in Dennis, Massachusetts, on our line for Independence. Good morning, Steve.
Hi, how are you?
Fine, thank you.
Good. This is a really, really excellent format because you're getting all sides, which doesn't seem to happen a lot. As far as the question, I would say that to me it's extreme, but it's also something that has to be done. This has been going on for 40 plus years. They've kind of sold us out bit by bit. So I think that he's really, trying to get us back the way that we were before, and it's going to hurt. That's the thing that people don't like. It's going to hurt us. You know what I mean? It takes time. My wife lost tons of money in the stock market, so she's not happy, of course. But I think in the long run, this is going to work out for America. He's not going to be popular for doing it, but hopefully it all works out.
All right. Karma is in Zephyr Hills, Florida, on our line for Democrats. Good morning, Karma.
Good morning. I would like to say all this business about the tariffs. He said he was doing it to bring manufacturing back to America, but it seems like he's doing it just so he can make better deals so that companies can remain in the countries that he's put the tariffs on. And I just don't know which way he's going. Is he bringing manufacturing back, or is he doing it for better deals? And if you've been to the grocery store lately, I bought a pack of meat for lunch meat. That's a third smaller than the pack of meat I bought the month before. He's done nothing about inflation. And everybody's talking about how great he is, but to me it just seems like the man can't make up his mind. He's using the military. He's spending hundreds of millions of dollars a month to put the military on the border when they're just standing around, putting up barbed wire fence and standing around because people quit coming in the middle of last year. I mean, they said they've caught like maybe 200 people a month for the last 6-8 months. Why do we need 10,000 soldiers doing a civilian job?
So, Karma, the administration says the reason that those crossings have declined is because that timing that you just laid out lines up with pretty much when President Trump was elected and then when he came into office.
Well, I heard that it started going down drastically in around September, October of 2024. And then when he became president, it went down even further. And then he puts the military there. I mean, are you not questioning how much money he is spending on this? I mean, hundreds of millions of dollars instead of just hiring more border patrol and
Well, I want to
them
get
do
to
their job.
a couple more folks before we have to end this segment. But first, I want to get to some comments that we've been getting on social media in response to this question of whether President Trump's first 100 days are what you expected. Shelley Washington says on Facebook, considering it's all laid out in Project 2025, yes. Joe from Big Rapids, Michigan says his actions denying people their constitutional rights, hiring his rich friends, and lining his pockets with taxpayers' money is exactly what I expected. But what I didn't expect was that the three branches of our government would cower to his bully tactics. Peg Alexis says on Facebook, yes, it's why I voted for him. He knows he has a short window of time to get financial issues worldwide straightened out. He warned us that it's going to be hard and asked us to hang in there with him during this time. His three-legged plan needs to come together to achieve it. It's not easy, but they have a solid plan. I have faith that nothing comes that worthwhile without a little pain, and we'll all see good things come to all of us in the end. And Patty Duke says, no, this is worse than I expected. I expected he would put Putin in his place and stop the war on the Ukrainian people. I expected he would MAGA, make America great again, not put thousands of Americans out of work, not tank the economy. Let's hear from Mark in New York on our line for Republicans. Good morning, Mark.
Hi. A lot has been spoken about domestic policy, but let me say something about foreign policy. First of all, I voted for Trump. I support Trump. Where I think he's a little bit, let us say, problematic is his predictability in what he's going to do in the world. Two problems. Number one, not using an accomplished politician expert like Marco Rubio to negotiate deals, for example, with Iran, and using his friends from the real estate industry to do that. Many of my friends I've spoken to, people are absolutely amazed at this. You know, negotiating with Iran is tremendously complicated. Similarly, Ukraine also. Having these, press-wise, Trump is great. He talks to the press, and no one can fault him for having these press conferences and talking to the press. But to sit with Zelensky in the Oval Office and basically berate him in front of the American people is not effective in making progress in solving the war in Ukraine. And also with Netanyahu. Netanyahu is sitting there, and Trump is telling him, would you please be reasonable with Iran? This is not the place for a president to make these kinds of statements with foreign leaders. This is done in private, and it is not effective to do this with your friends in the real estate business. It's not effective, it doesn't work, and it could potentially lead to a world crisis. I support the president tremendously, but I think he needs to reset his foreign policy direction and put more responsibility in the hands of the Secretary of State.
Thank you. All right, let's hear from Dennis in Janesville, Wisconsin on our line for Independence.
Yeah, I mean, gosh, this is what you get when you got a house of cards built on nothing but lies for the past 40 years. In 1999, when Bill Clinton left office for the first time since Ronald Reagan, there was a $199 million surplus in private pension programs. And nobody talks, nobody says. I contacted him in like 97 about when he passed NAFTA. I sent him a copy of a Fleetwood Mac album that had a picture of him and Bush from the NAFTA photos, and they looked like Beavis and Butthead. And I captioned it that. I blew it up to an 8x10. I captioned Bush saying, "Let him eat cake, our pensions are covered." And I put a picture of my wife's 30-year birthday cake next to it on the cover of Fleetwood Mac album and snapped it in 4 pieces and mailed it to him. Contents damaged prior to shipping. And he did something. He made GM sell off EDS. $20 billion to shore up their pension program. This does not get discussed. Nobody talks about it. But people jumped in line. Whatever he did to them, by 2000, there was a $199 million surplus in private pension programs for the first time.
So Dennis, we're just about out of time. I'm just wondering what you are hoping the Trump administration will do in line with what you're laying out here.
The fourth estate will step up and do what it's supposed to do. The reason we're in this mess is because they put him in office the first time, they put him in office the second time, and this country is just, have a nice day.